Hello everyone, welcome back to video lecture on the module RTOS, that is Real-Time Operating System for Embedded System Design. So we have covered almost all the topics. In last video I started with the topic task scheduling. So in this video let us go through different scheduling algorithm. Okay. So in last video we had gone through what is task scheduling and different types of task scheduling, right? We know that there are three types of task scheduling. One is cooperative task scheduling, another is preemptive task scheduling, and the final one is non-preemptive task scheduling, right? So now let us go through non-preemptive scheduling. So what is non-preemptive scheduling? So non-preemptive scheduling is employed in systems which implement non-preemptive multitasking model. Okay, so non-preemptive task scheduling algorithm is implemented in models which support non-preemptive multitasking. So the currently executing task or process is allowed to run until it terminates or enters the block or wait state, waiting for an IO system resource. So in case of non-preemptive scheduling, as the name indicates, non-preemptive means the tasks will not be preempted, it will be allowed to execute till its completion. So once a task or a process is scheduled for execution, it will be allowed to execute till its completion, or if it enters the block or wait state. So till it is executing, the CPU will be under its control. So that CPU will be allocated for a task or a process until it completes its execution, or the process or the task is going to relinquish. That is, it is going to release the CPU when it is going to enter the block state. Done. So the various types of non-preemptive scheduling which are adopted in task or process scheduling are first come first served, FCFS, or it is also called as FIFO scheduling, that is first in first out scheduling. And next is last come first served, that is LCFS, or LIFO, that is last in first out scheduling, and shortest job first, SJF scheduling, and priority based scheduling. So these are the four types of non-preemptive scheduling that we will be going through in detail. So the first scheduling policy is first come first served, that is FCFS or FIFO scheduling. So what it says, it allocates CPU time to the process based on the order in which they enter the ready queue. So we know that any task or process before being scheduled, it will be waiting in ready queue, correct? So in case of first come first served or FIFO scheduling, the processes or the tasks will be scheduled for execution in the order they arrive at the ready queue. So the first process which arrives at the ready queue will be scheduled for execution first, later the next one. So it follows the order in which it enters the ready queue. So this type of scheduling policy can be compared with ticket reservation system, where people need to stand in a queue and the first person in the queue is serviced first. The same concept is used in first come first served or FIFO scheduling. So the first entered process will be executed and the output will be generated. So it is also called as first in first out scheduling. Okay. So in order to better understand, let us consider an example for first come first serve or FIFO scheduling. So here we are going to consider three processes with process IDs P1, P2 and P3 with estimated completion time 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds respectively enters the ready queue together in the order P1, P2, P3. So now we need to calculate waiting time and turnaround time for each of these processes, and also the average waiting time and average turnaround time for these processes. Okay, so this is the question. So there are three processes P1, P2, P3, and the time taken for completion of the execution of these processes is 10 milliseconds for P1, 5 milliseconds for P2 and 7 milliseconds for P3. So they are in ready queue. We need to schedule them based on first come first served or FIFO scheduling algorithm. Okay, so let us represent these processes using first come first serve scheduling algorithm. So what the first come first serve scheduling algorithm says, so whichever the process which enters the ready queue first will be scheduled for execution first. So here what would be the sequence of execution of the processes by the CPU, how it can be represented. So first P1 process will be scheduled and it will be executing till its completion. So it is going to execute for 10 milliseconds. After P1, the next process that is entering the ready queue is P2. So that will be scheduled for next, and it is going to execute after 10 seconds, that is after execution of P1 for 5 milliseconds. And after the execution of process 2, that is after 15 milliseconds, process 3 will be scheduled for execution and it will be executing for 7 milliseconds. Okay, so process 1 will be scheduled first, so it is not waiting. So it is assumed that when process 1 enters the ready queue is free, so it will be directly scheduled for execution. So this is the representation of sequence of processes that will be executed using first come first served scheduling algorithm or FIFO algorithm. Okay, so now we need to calculate what waiting time for this processes, turnaround time for these processes, and also average waiting time and average turnaround time. So what will be the waiting time for P1? It will be 0 millisecond, but P2 should wait for 10 milliseconds. That is, it should wait for complete execution of P1. So waiting time for P2 is 10 millisecond, and P3 should wait for completion of P1 and P2. So total 10 plus 5, that is 15 millisecond, right? So the waiting time for process 1 is 0 millisecond, and for process 2 is 10 millisecond, and process 3 is 15 millisecond. Okay, so next is what? Average waiting time. So average is nothing but what? Sum of all these waiting times divided by total number of processes. So sum of 0 plus 10 plus 15 milliseconds divided by 3. So you'll be getting 25 by 3, which is equal to 8.33 milliseconds. Okay, so that will be the average waiting time. Next is we need to calculate turnaround time. So in previous lecture we had gone through the definition of turnaround time. So it involves all the waiting time for a particular process plus the execution time. Yes, so it is the total time spent by the process in execution plus waiting. Correct? So the turnaround time for process 1 will be waiting time for process 1 plus execution time of process 1. So that is 0 millisecond plus 10 millisecond, which is equal to 10 millisecond. And TAT, that is turnaround time for process 2, is waiting time of P2 plus execution time of P2. That is waiting time is 10 millisecond plus execution time is 5 millisecond. So total 15 millisecond. Okay, and TAT for process 3 will be waiting time for P3 plus execution time of P3, that is 15 millisecond plus 7 millisecond, which is 22 milliseconds. Okay, so these are the turnaround time for each processes P1, P2 and P3. Now what is the average turnaround time for the system which involves all these three processes? Average turnaround time is equal to what? Sum of individual turnaround time by total number of processes, that is 10 plus 15 plus 22 millisecond divided by 3, which is equal to 47 divided by 3. So it is 15.66 milliseconds. So that would be the average turnaround time. Okay. So there is one more method for calculation of average turnaround time. So we shall see how. So what is the average execution time? It is the sum of execution time of individual processes by the total number of processes. So here execution times of P1, P2, P3 is 10 plus 5 plus 7. That is 22, and total number of processes is 3. So 22 by 3 is 7.33 millisecond. Average turnaround time can also be calculated as sum of average waiting time plus average execution time. So here we can see average waiting time is 8.33 millisecond. plus average execution time, that is 7.33. So 8.33 plus 7.33 is 15.66 milliseconds. So this is same what we are seeing here. So that is one of the alternative methods for calculating average turnaround time. Okay. So let us consider one more example. The same processes P1, P2, P3 and with same completion time, that is 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds are entering the ready queue, but here the order is changed. So in previous case it was P1, then P2, then P3. Here first P2 process, that is process 2 is entering, then P1, then P3. And again here we need to calculate waiting and turnaround time, also average waiting and average turnaround time. Okay. So before calculating the turnaround and waiting time, we need to represent the processes, right? So according to this, first process that is entering the ready queue is P2, so that will be scheduled first. So it is going to execute from 0 millisecond to 5 millisecond. Then the next process in the queue is P1, so that will be scheduled after 5 milliseconds and it will be executing for 10 milliseconds. Next, after process 1, process 3 enters the queue, so that will be scheduled. So it will be executing for next 7 milliseconds. Okay. So now, as in the previous case, we assume that when P2 enters, there are no other processes in the ready queue. So as a result, P2 will be directly scheduled for execution. So the waiting time for process P2 will be 0. Okay. So process 1, that is P1, should wait for completion of execution of process 2. So it should wait for 5 milliseconds. So the waiting time for process P1 is 5 milliseconds, and process 3, that is P3, should wait for completion of execution of process 2 and process 1, that is 5 plus 10. So 15 milliseconds. So those are the waiting time for process 2, process 1 and process 3. 0, 5 and 15 milliseconds respectively. So now what would be the average waiting time? It is sum of all these three, that is 0 plus 5 plus 15 divided by 3. So it is 20 by 3, which is equal to 6.66 milliseconds. Okay. Next is turnaround time. So it is the time spent in execution plus waiting. For process 2, waiting time is 0 and execution time is 5. So 0 plus 5 is 5 millisecond, and for process 1, waiting time is 5 milliseconds and execution time is 10 milliseconds. So 5 plus 10 is 15 milliseconds. And turnaround time for process 3 is waiting time is 5 plus 10, that is 15 milliseconds, and execution time is 7 milliseconds. So 15 plus 7 is 22 milliseconds. Okay, so these are the turnaround time for process 2, process 1 and process 3. So now the average turnaround time is what? 5 plus 15 plus 22, that is sum of turnaround time of individual processes divided by 3, that is 42 by 3, which is 14 milliseconds. Okay. So again we can calculate average turnaround time. Alternatively, for that we need to calculate average execution time. So it is the sum of execution time for all these processes, that is 5 plus 10 plus 7, which is equal to 22, and divided by 3 is 7.33 millisecond. So average turnaround time will be sum of average waiting time plus average execution time, that is 6.66 plus 7.33, which is equal to 14 milliseconds. Okay. So what are the observations we have made, or what are the analysis we can make is the average waiting time and average turnaround time depends upon order in which the processes enter the ready queue. Yes, that is what we have seen in both the examples. What we have seen, the same processes P1, P2 and P3 were considered with same completion time. So in case of example 2, we had changed the order. So in first case it was P1, P2 and P3 was the order in which the processes entered. In second example it was P2, P1 and P3, correct? And there was a change in average waiting time and average turnaround time. So that is the first analysis we can make. And the next thing is the average waiting time and average turnaround time improves if the process with shortest execution time is scheduled first. So we have seen that scheduled time for process 1 is 10 millisecond, and for process 2 is 5 millisecond, and process 3 is 7 millisecond. So in example 2, when we scheduled the shortest process, that is P2 with 5 millisecond first, and later the other processes, we have seen that the average waiting time and average turnaround time improves. That is, the average turnaround time and average waiting time has reduced. Yes, that is what we call the improvement. Yes, so that is the second analysis we can make. So what are the major drawbacks of this type of scheduling? That is first come first serve or FIFO scheduling means it favors monopoly of process. So why means a process which does not contain any IO operation continue its execution till it finishes, right? So since it is non-preemptive, if any process which does not require IO operation is scheduled for execution, so it is going to execute till its completion, correct? And the CPU is not relinquished by the process. So there are two types of processes. If it requires IO devices, then we can call it as IO process. Otherwise, we can call it as a CPU process. So in case of first come first serve scheduling algorithm, if a CPU bound process is scheduled for execution, then the IO processes must wait till the completion of CPU bound processes. So we can say that CPU bound processes have monopoly in case of first come first served scheduling algorithm. Okay, so this leads to poor device utilization, and average waiting time is not minimal for FCFS scheduling algorithm. So we know that the average turnaround time must be minimum for a good scheduling algorithm, correct? A good scheduling algorithm is one which has average turnaround time as low as possible, but that is not possible in case of first come first serve scheduling algorithm. And also CPU utilization should be maximum for a good scheduling algorithm, so that is also not achieved here. Okay, so these are the points that we need to know about first come first serve or FIFO non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Okay, so the next scheduling algorithm is last come first served or LIFO, that is last in first out scheduling. Okay, so what it says, this also allocates CPU time to the process based on the order in which they enter the ready queue. Okay, so similar to first in first out, even last in last out scheduling algorithm is going to allocate the CPU for processes to execute in the order they have arrived the ready queue. But in case of first in first out, the first process in the ready queue was scheduled first, whereas in case of last in first out, as the name indicates, the last process that has entered the ready queue will be scheduled for execution first. So we can understand it better by considering an example. So let us consider the same three processes P1, P2, P3 what we had considered earlier with completion time 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds respectively, which are going to enter the ready queue in the order P1, P2 and P3. So first P1, next P2, then at last P3. Okay, so we need to assume that P1 is present in the ready queue. Okay, and that point of time a new process P4 with estimated completion time 6 milliseconds enter the ready queue after 5 milliseconds of scheduling of P1. So now by using last in first out or last come first serve scheduling algorithm, we need to calculate waiting time, turnaround time and average waiting time and average turnaround time for these processes. Okay, so before starting the calculation we need to represent the sequence in which the processes will be executed. Okay, so let us consider the sequence. So as it is said in the question, first process P1 will be in the execution. Okay, since it is non-scheduling, even though there is a latest process that is entering, that is P4 is the latest process that is entering, but since it is non-preempting, once the process P1 is scheduled, it is going to complete its execution. It will not be preempted, even though at the 5th millisecond a new process P4 has entered the ready queue. So according to last in first served scheduling algorithm, what it should happen, the last entered process, that is P4, should be scheduled. Since it is non-preemptive and already P1 is scheduled, so the P1 will be allowed to complete its execution. So P1 is going to complete its execution from 0 to 10 milliseconds. After that, which is the last process that has entered? It is P4. So P4 will be scheduled for execution, and it is having completion time of 6 milliseconds. So after 10 milliseconds, P4 will be executed for next 6 milliseconds. Okay, and next, which is the second last process that has entered the queue? It is P3. So that will be scheduled for execution next. So P3 is having an execution time of 7 milliseconds. So P3 will be scheduled for execution for next 7 milliseconds. Done. So after P3, then we have P2 with 5 milliseconds. So next P2 will be scheduled for execution for next 5 milliseconds. So this will be the sequence of execution of processes by using last come first served scheduling algorithm. Okay, so now for this we need to calculate waiting time, turnaround time, and average waiting time and average turnaround time. Yes. So as in previous case, we shall assume that when P1 enters, there are no other processes in ready queue. So the waiting time for process 1 will be 0. So it will be scheduled without any waiting. So the waiting time for process P1 is 0, and P4 entered after 5 milliseconds of execution of P1, but it should wait until its completion, till 10 milliseconds. So the waiting time for P4 is 5 milliseconds, right? And then P3 should wait for completion of execution of process P1 and P4, that is 10 plus 6, so 16 milliseconds. And P2 should wait for completion of processes P1, P4 and P3, so 10 plus 6 plus 7, that is 23 milliseconds. Okay, so these are the waiting times for processes P1, P4, P3 and P2. So now what will be the average waiting time? It is sum of all these waiting times divided by total number of processes, that is 4 processes. So it is 44 by 4 is 11 milliseconds. Okay, so now what would be the turnaround time for process 1? So waiting time is 0 plus execution time is 10. So turnaround time for process 1 will be 10 milliseconds. For process P4, waiting time is 5 milliseconds and execution time is 6 milliseconds. So total it is 11 milliseconds. And for process 3, waiting time is 16 and execution time is 7. So it will be 23 milliseconds. And then for process 2, waiting time is 23 milliseconds and execution time is 5 milliseconds. So total it is 28 milliseconds. So this will be the turnaround time for these processes. So now what would be the average turnaround time? So sum of all these turnaround times divided by 4. So 10 plus 11 plus 23 plus 28 millisecond is 72, and it is divided by total number of processes, that is 4. So it is 18 milliseconds. Okay. So this is about the last come first serve or last in first out scheduling algorithm. Hope you have understood this. Yes, and also the difference between FIFO and LIFO scheduling algorithm. That is first what we saw and the next. Yes. So the next scheduling algorithm is the shortest job first scheduling algorithm. So what it says, whenever the CPU is released by any executing process because of completion or because it entered a ready queue, the ready queue will be sorted to see which is the process which is having minimum execution time or run time. So that process with minimum execution time will be scheduled first. So the name shortest job first. So which is the process which is having shortest execution time, that will be scheduled first, followed by the next shortest process and so on. Okay. So let us consider an example. Let us consider the same process as what we considered previous examples. That is process P1, P2 and P3 with estimated completion time 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds respectively. Okay. So here also we need to calculate the waiting time, turnaround time and average waiting time and average turnaround time by using shortest job first, SJF scheduling algorithm. Okay. So before starting calculation, we need to represent the sequence in which the processes will be scheduled. So if we see the estimated completion time for these processes P1, P2 and P3, it is 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds. So the shortest or the minimum completion time is for process 2, which is 5 milliseconds, and next it is process 3, which is having 7 milliseconds, and the last will be process 1, that is P1 with 10 milliseconds. So what will be the order or sequence of process execution? It is P2, P3 and then P1. Okay, so first P2 will be scheduled for execution. It is going to execute for 5 milliseconds. Next P3 will be scheduled for execution, so it will be executing for next 7 milliseconds, and next P1 will be scheduled for execution and it is going to execute for next 10 milliseconds, right? So now we need to calculate the waiting time. So as usual, we shall assume that when P2 enters the ready queue, there are no any other processes in the ready queue. In that case, the waiting time for process 2 or P2 will be 0, right? And then the process 3 should wait for 5 milliseconds. That is, it should wait for completion of execution of process 2. So waiting time for process 3 is 5 milliseconds. And then process 1 should wait for completion of execution of process P2 and P3. That is 5 plus 7, which is 12 milliseconds, right? So these will be the waiting time for these processes. So next, average waiting time will be sum of all these waiting time divided by 3. That is 0 plus 5 plus 12 is 17 divided by 3, which is 5.66 milliseconds. Okay, and then what will be the turnaround time? So waiting time plus execution time for process 2 is 0 millisecond plus execution time is 5 milliseconds. So it is 5 millisecond, and for process 3 it is 5 milliseconds plus execution time 7 milliseconds. So it is 12 milliseconds, and for process 1 waiting time is 12 millisecond plus execution time is 10 milliseconds, so which is 22 milliseconds, right? So those will be the turnaround time for these processes. So now the average turnaround time will be sum of these individual turnaround time divided by 3. That is 5 plus 12 plus 22 divided by 3 is 39 by 3, which is 13 milliseconds, right? So that was shortest job first. And what is our observation from this example is the average waiting time and the average turnaround time is much improved for shortest job scheduling. Yes, for the same processes what we considered in previous 2 cases. So till now what we can say is, compared to these 3 scheduling algorithms, that is first come first out and last come first out and shortest job first is a better choice, correct, for scheduling the tasks, as it has minimum average turnaround time out of these 3 scheduling policies, right? Okay, so let us consider one more example for shortest job scheduling for better understanding. So again here also it is considering the same processes P1, P2, P3 with 10, 5 and 7 estimated completion time. And one more thing is that there will be a new process that will be entering the ready queue with an estimated completion time of 2 milliseconds after 2 milliseconds of execution of process 2. So we have seen that process 2 will be scheduled first because of shortest job. So it is having an execution time of 5 milliseconds, but there will be a new process which is entering the ready queue with still more less execution time, that is 2 milliseconds. It is going to enter the ready queue after 2 milliseconds of execution of process 2. So what will be the waiting time, turnaround time and average waiting time and average turnaround time of these processes in this case? using shortest job first scheduling. So in order to calculate that, first we need to represent the sequence of execution of these four processes, that is P1, P2, P3 and P4. So out of this, initially there will be only three processes, P1, P2 and P3, with estimated completion time of 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds. So first P2 process will be scheduled for execution. Since it is non-preemptive, once a task is scheduled, it will not be preempted till its completion of execution, right? So even though there is one more new process that has entered the ready queue with much lesser completion time, that is 2 milliseconds is lesser than 5 milliseconds, but since P2 has already been scheduled and this is non-preemptive type of scheduling, P2 will be allowed to complete its execution. So after that, the remaining processes are P4, P1 and P3, and out of those, P4 is having minimum completion time, that is 2 milliseconds. So that will be scheduled for execution, right? So that will be scheduled and it is going to execute for next 2 milliseconds, right? So the left out processes now are P1 and P3. So P1 has 10 milliseconds of completion time and P3 has 7 milliseconds of completion time. So shortest one is P3, so that will be scheduled next. So it will be executing for next 7 milliseconds. After that, the remaining process, that is P1, will be scheduled and it will be executing for next 10 milliseconds, right? So this will be the sequence of execution of these four processes. So now we need to calculate the waiting time, turnaround time and average values, right? P2 will be having waiting time 0. P4 should wait for completion of P2, but it has entered after 2 milliseconds of the scheduling of process P2. So 5 minus 2 is 3 milliseconds. So the waiting time for P4 is 3 milliseconds. Waiting time of P3 is execution time of process 2 and process 4. 5 plus 2, that is 7 milliseconds. So waiting time for P3 is 7 milliseconds and P1 should wait for completion of execution of process P2, P4 and P3. That is 5 plus 2 plus 7, that is 14 milliseconds. Okay. So these will be the waiting time for these processes. So what will be the average waiting time? Sum of all these four waiting times by 4. That is 24 by 4 is 6 milliseconds. Okay. So next is turnaround time, that is sum of waiting time plus execution time. So for process 2 it is 0 plus 5, which is 5 millisecond. For process 4 is 3 plus 2, that is 5 millisecond, and process 3 it is 7 plus 7, that is 14 millisecond, and for process 1 it is 14 plus 10, that is 24 millisecond. So next is average turnaround time. So the average turnaround time will be sum of these turnaround times by 4. 5 plus 5 plus 14 plus 24 milliseconds divided by 4 is 48 by 4, which is 12 milliseconds. Okay. So now what that we can analyze from this shortest job first scheduling algorithm is the average waiting time and average turnaround time is minimal for shortest job first scheduling, and so it is optimal compared to other non-preemptive scheduling. And what are the drawbacks means a process whose estimated execution completion time is very high may not get a chance to execute if more and more processes with least estimated execution time enters the ready queue. So let us consider there is a process which is having the longest estimated completion time. So it may not get a chance every time if new processes are entering the ready queue with comparatively less estimated time for completion. So in that case, the process with longest execution time may not get a chance to execute itself. In that case, we call that process is suffering from starvation. So it is difficult to know in advance the next shortest process in the ready queue for scheduling, since new process with different estimated execution time keep entering the ready queue at any point of time. So that is also one more point. So it will be hard for the operating system to know well in advance what would be the estimation time of the next process that will be entering the ready queue. So it may have more completion time compared to currently available processes in the ready queue, or it may have least completion time compared to all the processes which are in the ready queue. Yes, so that is the major drawback. So the next type of scheduling is priority based scheduling. Okay, till now we had not considered priority of the processes. In this type of scheduling, priority will be considered. So what it says means priority based non-preemptive scheduling ensures that a process with high priority is serviced at the earliest compared to other low priority processes in the ready queue. So one of the disadvantage of SJF, that is shortest job first, was starvation. So in order to avoid this, we will be assigning priority to every task that is entering the ready queue. This scheduling algorithm sees that a process with highest priority will get the chance to execute first. The way in which the priority can be assigned to the process varies from operating system to operating system. Priority of a task or process can be indicated through various mechanisms. So for example, in case of shortest job first, the priority is given to the process with shortest completion time. Like this, the way in which priority can be allocated to a process varies from operating system to operating system. So now, the priority can be 0 to maximum priority supported by the operating system. So the different levels of priority, what is the minimum or maximum level of priority that are supported by operating system varies from operating system to operating system. So we shall consider an example, the same three processes P1, P2 and P3 with estimated completion time of 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds, but with priority also with 0, 3 and 2. So P1 is having priority 0, P2 is having priority 3 and P3 is having priority 2. And here 0 is considered as highest priority and 3 is considered as lowest priority. Again, this depends upon operating system. Okay, so 0 can be given the highest priority or lowest priority, or 3 can be given the highest priority or lowest priority. So in this case, 0 is considered as highest priority and 3 is considered as lowest priority. Okay, so they are entering the ready queue. So we need to calculate the waiting time, turnaround time and the average values by using priority based non-preemptive scheduling, right? So now, in order to calculate what we have to do, we need to first represent the sequence in which the processes will be scheduled, correct? Or processes will be executed. So in this case, which is the process which is having the highest priority? It is process 1. So that will be scheduled for execution first. So it will be executing for 10 milliseconds. After the execution of process P1, we have P2 and P3. P2 is having priority of 3 and P3 is having priority of 2. So P3 will be scheduled as it is having highest priority compared to P2. So P3 will be scheduled next. It is going to execute for next 7 milliseconds, and last the remaining process, that is P2, will be scheduled and it will be executing for 5 milliseconds. So this will be the sequence of execution of these three processes. First P1, then P3, then P2 based on their priority, that is 0, 2 and 3. So now what will be the waiting time of process 1? So as usual, so we will be assuming that when process 1 enters the ready queue, there are no other processes, so its waiting time will be 0, and process 3 should wait for completion of process 1. So it should wait for 10 milliseconds, and process 2 should wait for completion of process P1 and P3, that is 10 plus 7 is 17 milliseconds. So average waiting time will be sum of these three values divided by 3, which is 9 milliseconds, and turnaround time is waiting time for process 1 is 0 plus execution time is 10 milliseconds, so it will be 10 millisecond. Waiting time for process 3 is 10 millisecond and execution time is 7 milliseconds, so it will be 10 plus 7, 17 millisecond. And waiting time for process 2 is 17 millisecond and execution time is 5 milliseconds, so it will be 17 plus 5, that is 22 milliseconds. So these will be the turnaround time for process 1, 3 and 2. Okay, so average values will be sum of these three values divided by 3, which is 49 by 3 equal to 16.33 milliseconds. So next we shall consider the another case for priority based non-preemptive scheduling, wherein we have the same three processes, that is P1, P2 and P3 with estimated completion time of 10, 5 and 7 milliseconds and priority of 0, 3 and 2. But there is one more process that is entering the ready queue with an estimated completion time of 6 milliseconds and priority level as 1. Okay, that will be entering the ready queue after 5 milliseconds of execution of process P1. Yes, so we need to calculate waiting time, turnaround time and the average values for these processes using priority based non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. So to calculate, we need to first represent the sequence of execution of these processes. So first is P1, because this is having the highest priority of 0. So it will be scheduled and it is going to execute for 10 milliseconds. Okay, so next, after the execution of process 1, we have three more processes, P2, P3 and P4. So with priority 3, 2 and 1. So the process with highest priority among these three is P4 with 1, right? So that will be scheduled for execution next, and that is going to execute for 6 milliseconds. After that we have two more, that is P2 and P3 with priority levels 3 and 2. So process 3 is having highest priority, so that will be scheduled next and it will be executing for 7 milliseconds. And then the remaining process, that is P2, will be scheduled and that will be executing for next 5 milliseconds. So this will be the sequence of execution of these four processes by using priority based non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Okay, so now for this we need to calculate waiting time, turnaround time and their average values. So for process 1, waiting time will be 0, and for process 4, waiting time is, it should wait till the completion of P1, that is 10 milliseconds, but it has entered after 5 milliseconds of execution of process 1. So it will be 10 minus 5, it is 5 milliseconds. So the waiting time for process 4 is 5 milliseconds and P3 should wait for a completion of execution of P1 and P4 processes, that is 10 plus 6 is 16 milliseconds and P2 should wait for complete execution of P1, P4 and P3, that is 10 plus 6 plus 7, which is 23 milliseconds. So these will be the waiting time for these processes. Average waiting time will be sum of these four individual waiting times divided by 4, which is 44 by 4 equal to 11 milliseconds. And then turnaround time for process 1 is 0 waiting time plus execution time of 10 milliseconds. So it is 10 milliseconds and P4 is 5 milliseconds plus 6 milliseconds is 11 milliseconds. And for P3 it is 16 plus 7, which is 23 milliseconds. And for P2 it is 23 plus 5, that is 28 milliseconds. So the average turnaround time for these processes is 10 plus 11 plus 23 plus 28 by 4, which is 72 by 4 equal to 18 milliseconds. So that completes all the four types of non-preemptive scheduling algorithms with respect to this module. So let me stop here for this video. The remaining concept, that is different types of preemptive scheduling algorithm and the last topic corresponding to this module, how to choose an RTOS, we shall discuss in the next video. So till then, try to analyze and understand the different types of non-preemptive scheduling algorithms which we have discussed in this video. So that's it for this video. We shall meet in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.